So the two things that I recommend are first, that we go in groups to demand law enforcement, that we show up for one another, even if we're strangers, that we know somebody's going to court for an order of protection. We have 5 people who go with her. When she goes to the police station, we have 5 people who go with her. It's much different than when we're individuated and really get out of the idea that we need men for protection. An interesting and new way to intervene when we think that one of our friends or sisters or relatives is in an abusive relationship, instead of saying to her, you know what, I think you're in an abusive relationship and here are some resources to help get you out. Because what will she likely say to that? I'm like, fine, that was just a bad day. If you say, I'm going to the self-defense class with 2 other friends, I'm going to pick you up at 7 o'clock on Saturday night. That's a really different thing. It's not that we want every man to be responsible for redefining masculinity, but every man needs some tools to intervene and to say, that's not cool. He identifies a couple other friends so that he's not the only one. And numbers really matter, and social currency really matters. US, our Constitution says all men are created equal. And we're taught, well, it doesn't really matter that it didn't mention women. It really matters, okay? It really matters that all laws in our country were made by men and are enforced by men. The standard, let's just change that lens and see what happens if we had a constitution that said all women are created equal. Because the whole system is based on the premise that it's her responsibility to leave. The only institutional reflection that we have in our society of domestic violence, especially in the criminal justice system, is battered women's shelters, which are not run by the government nor barely supported by the government, but the government relies on them to answer the question of what are we supposed to do about domestic violence? Like, why doesn't he leave? Why don't we have a system that's part of the criminal justice system or the civil justice system where he can be in some sort of housing, where he gets services and rehabilitation and parenting classes? If it affected men, we would solve this. We're more than half of the population, and we have to demand rights, knowing that we come from a place where we have selves worth defending and where we have the right and the obligation to defend one another. So the vision is really one of abundance, sharing, and love.